I would really appreciate if everybody was muted and then we don't get any background noise at all. Thanks. Right, today we start remembering it is Holocaust Day. Thousands upon thousands of people were killed because of racism. So what I'd like now is for us just to spend a moment in silence to reflect on the sad loss of those lives. And so we pray that we will be the light in the darkness. We ask our loving Creator to help us to unite against the sin of racism. Lord, open our hearts so that we may love and accept people, all peoples made in the image and likeness of our one true God. And we pray again that we will be the light in the darkness. Amen. Throughout this session, I would really appreciate if anyone has a comment or a question that you use the chat facility, please. Not only for today, but also it helps us year after. So anyone who wishes to make a comment or who wishes to ask a question, please use the chat facility. And can I remind everybody yet again, please keep yourselves muted so that we do not pick up any of the background noise. This is our final workshop. It is the 6th of a series, and this one is on life in school. We hope today to discuss the usefulness of a school race equality audit. Now, to help us, I've asked Richard to do this for us, but Richard is having problems with his modem. So he's going to speak to us from his telephone. So I'm praying now that everybody is going to be able to hear Richard. Richard, please.
Okay, I'm going to try and put Richard on using the phone. Okay, Richard, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Please, can you speak as loud as you can, please?
Fine.
Can you all hear him? Good.
Hello?
Yes.
Go ahead, Richard.
Okay. Sorry about this. It's a technological problem, but I'm speaking about the race equality audit. And I want to start by saying that you think of, sometimes we think of a race equality audit as being a sort of bureaucratic tick box. And it's not that. It's a process of discernment. So when thinking about a race equality audit in a school, think about the quality of the conversation, in the sense that Pope Francis might use the word discernment, and a process by which people are talking to one another about what would be good for the school. But it inevitably involves a list of some areas we want to look at. And I'm just going to briefly introduce a few of those. And then you can talk about them in your groups. The first is the people and the area which the school serves. Now, you may want to talk about the catchment area of the school, but you want to talk about the area a bit beyond that, because there may be 2 or 3 schools which border one another in terms of their catchment area. And it's the larger neighborhood that you also want to talk about, because the young people in a school may relate to, in other contexts, other young people from other schools. And the area might be in a city, an area of a city or a town or a village. And you want to reflect on the area and the diversity or non-diversity of the population in the area. Is it a very mixed area racially and in terms of class? Are there nearby neighborhoods that differ from your own but still impinge on yours? And then what about the pupils in the school? Are the pupils a diverse group of pupils or fairly homogeneous? And what about the staff? If it's a diverse staff, does the mixture of staff ethnically more or less mirror the mixture of pupils and students in the school? And what about other schools in the area? Is your school diverse, but a school nearby is mostly white? Is your school a school that mainly serves poor kids, but the school up the hill serves slightly wealthier kids? These sorts of issues will be part of your race equality audit. And then you want to look at the mission and leadership. Does the mission statement envisage a school which prepares young people to live, to thrive, and to contribute to a more just, more equal, more cooperative society? And how does the leadership promote and facilitate the vision in the mission statement? And maybe you want to change the mission statement, and maybe the leadership wants to make more of an effort to promote a mission of diversity and inclusion. Then you want to look at staffing. What is the ethnic makeup of the staff? Do they reflect the makeup of the pupils and the surrounding area which the school serves? What are your recruitment and selection processes? Are the advertising, the selection panels, the job descriptions and interviews reviewed for their race equality impact? What sort of training is available to staff on race equality and related matters? Do ethnic minority staff get promoted? These are just a few of the questions you might want to ask yourselves and others in your school. Another topic is involvement. Does the school encourage and facilitate the involvement of parents and carers, students and pupils, governors, members of the community, all of those in the life of the school? Are some groups less involved than others? How can those who are not so much involved be encouraged? This is another area you'll want to look at. Curriculum and resources. How does the curriculum reflect the racial and cultural diversity of the school, the area, and the wider society? So when asking about your curriculum, you don't just want to talk about your area, but you also want to talk about the UK and think about how the curriculum we have reflects the diversity of UK society and even the wider world for a Catholic school. Are students aware of the contribution that different groups have made to UK society? Black history, Black literature, are these given a serious treatment in the curriculum? Are students able to explore and share their own cultural backgrounds? So if there's a diverse group in your school, is there any way, even in primary schools, so that young people can share something of how they understand their cultural backgrounds and appreciate one another's cultural backgrounds? Do books in the library and other resources reflect a multicultural society? Going on, you may want to think about achievement. Do ethnic minority and working class students achieve appropriately in your school? What steps are taken to address inequality in educational achievement? Another area is exclusions. Are some groups overrepresented in temporary or permanent exclusions? Has anything been done to address any overrepresentation in exclusions? Let me tell you one story about a well-thought-of London boys' school. Carge was invited to come and meet with the head teacher, and the head teacher sat down with two of us and said, kind of in a slightly joking manner, not joking though, because we were all serious, "I must be racist," he said. And we said, "Well, why? What?" And he said, "Well, we've just reviewed our exclusions and we've discovered that black boys are very overrepresented in our exclusions. Can you help me address this?" And so one of our associates went to the school and provided a set of workshops, 5 workshops for a group of students in the school that he had selected. And that went very well. So the next year she was asked to come back and do 2 sets of 5 workshops, and the year after again. So here was an example of someone who discovered something, a head teacher discovered something he wasn't aware of, that even in a very good school, the exclusions of black boys were much higher than they should have been. And then he did something to try to deal with it, and we helped him. Social and emotional aspects of learning. How does the school address the social and emotional aspects of learning? Let me tell you one other story. We have an associate who for almost 10 years has gone into some primary schools, and in any given primary school, she would go in once a week and have small group sessions with a group of 8 or 2 groups of 8. And she'd meet with that same group of 8 every week for an hour throughout the whole year. And she would try to develop speaking and listening skills, self-esteem, self-confidence, deal with issues that the young people wanted to deal with, and prepare them for debates at the end of the year, where they would stand in front of their schoolmates and debate, even though they were probably looked on as the pupils in the school that were least likely to enter into a public debate. But there was one story of a young pupil who at the beginning of the year, when she started working with our associate, wouldn't speak, or only would speak by putting her hand in front of her mouth. And the year went on, and she participated in this small group every week. And at the end of the year, she participated in the debate and won the Best Speakers Award. So you can see how there are ways of trying to address the social and emotional aspects of learning, where pupils can really improve and can really get through some of their difficulties. So that would be another area you'd want to look at in an audit. Now let me just say that as I started out, this isn't a process of ticking boxes in a bureaucratic way. It's a process of identifying some areas and then trying to work together and talk together and reflect together and possibly even pray together as a group in a school to try to get a glimpse of what the school needs to do to move forward and how the Spirit is asking us to move forward as a school. Anyway, that's just a taster of what the process of a race equality audit might be in a school. And I think probably Yogi and Gloria will be putting you into groups to take this discussion further. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. So we now have 10 minutes. I'm going to ask Gloria to put everybody into a group. And what I would like is for you to share in the discussion on what you have taken from what Richard has just said. And might I just ask that people allow one another the freedom to express opinion? So in other words, what I'm saying is please don't contradict or criticize or judge what anybody is saying. Let everyone feel free to offer their opinion. I'm going to give you 10 minutes. I'm going to ask Gloria to bring everybody back at 4 o'clock. So 10 minutes to discuss what you've heard from Richard, what you liked about it, what you didn't, what you think is valuable, how you would use that. Thank you. Well, thank you very much for coming back so swiftly. And I was in the middle of answering a question to Neville, which I hope to answer later on. Thank you for that. I hope you all had a good discussion there. We're not going to report back on that now, but we will later. What I would like now is for us to recap on the previous 5 sessions. This is our last session, and I want us just to think back on what we've done in the previous 5 sessions, including what we've done today. On the first, we had the reviews on how the pandemic affected the Black and minority community. We were all appalled by the police treatment and the death of George Floyd. And we all know that that led to a growing worldwide movement of Black and white people in Black Lives Matter. We covered that in the very first session. Then we had an eloquent speaker who gave us the summary of the history of colonialism and empire, and more important, the British and Irish Catholic involvement in the history of imperialism. Our third session focused on recommending books and authors, helping us to have access to a wider library for subjects like literature, history, religious education, and so on. We also looked at how ethnicity, race, and equality in the UK might impact social studies in schools. Then we had a session on evolving language and cultural awareness. And during that time, we had somebody speak of their experience in working in Catholic schools. The penultimate session, if you all remember, Father Phil did that last week, was on ethnicity, identity, and belonging. We learned there about the notion of identity and how many of us live with an ongoing, changing, evolving sense of identity. And today, Richard has just given us a means of a school audit. And I apologize yet again that he was not able to put up his slides and speak to them. But I think we got the gist of what he wanted to convey in speaking to us by phone. Of course, for us as Catholics, it is most important that we take on board the teaching of the Church. So all our workshops have taken seriously into account Catholic social teaching, Catholic social thought, and of course, the gospel. Today, some of you are from primary schools and some of you are from secondary schools. The hope is that taking into account all that we have listened to and learned, hopefully, from the 6 sessions, we might now be able to help one another to bring about change, no matter how small the change, but to bring about some kind of change. So I'm going to put you all back into little groups again. And this time, I wanted the discussions to be on 6 topics. And I've asked Gloria to put the 6 topics into the chat area. But there's a little more work here. I do want every group to choose a person to take notes. Because what we want is for that person to send in those notes to Kaj. It is important for us to have that information so that we can put it on the website so that everybody can learn from it. But I also want from each group a person to be chosen to come back with just a 2-minute report. So a very brief report on the most important parts of what we've just done. So each group will then send one person back, or rather one person from each group will come back with a 2-minute report. Just the most important parts of what your discussion was about, please. Thank you. Gloria, could you put us into groups?
Yes, I can. I just wanted to reiterate and show the questions. I hope everyone can see that.
And you will put that into the chat, would you please, Gloria?
Yeah, I'll put that in the chat as well, but just to see the questions and that's
Sure.
what
I just go through them quickly.
Yeah.
The areas that I wish you to consider are 1, the school fabric, especially the reception area. 2, the curriculum, so all the subjects in the curriculum, and if you have time, you might look up different people on your on Google. 3, recruitment, the recruitment of teaching staff, management staff, auxiliary staff. How do you go about recruiting? What might you do to have a more representative staff in your school? 4, the roles of responsibility. How are these given? Who gets what responsibility? Have you taken note of who the people are who are responsible for the various areas in the school? And also for the pupils. You know, pupils who are made captains to this or monitors for that. You know, is there a good cross-section of pupils being asked to take on roles of responsibility? The idea here is to look at every child having a role model. The 5th area for consideration are school policies. I know it is normal for schools to have hundreds of policies, but very often our school policies are drawn up, then placed into a cabinet where it's kept safely until the next inspection. I'm looking for school policies that are used on a regular basis, so they're alive. They're bricks that build up the school. And then lastly, the thoughts that you've had on what Richard spoke about to us. How would you in your school go about a school audit? And like I say, this is an opportunity now for us to help one another. You're coming from different schools and you might have different experiences that you could share now so that everyone learns something before we go. So you have until 4:30 for this. At 4:30, we will return to the big group and I'd ask each one to come back with a 2-minute, each group to come back with a 2-minute report, please. I hope that was all clear. And I'll now ask Gloria to put us into groups.
So thanks so much, and thanks, Yogi. We really appreciated it.